Hello. It has been probably a month or maybe even more before I have, or since I've vlogged. And that's just because life has been crazy and good and crazy. But I do want to get back into the swing of things, and so I figured a really fun way to do that would just be to kind of talk over my mood board for the month of July, which is wild that we're already in the month of July. It's like potentially our last full month, Joe and I's last full month in Sioux Falls before we leave for New York. Yeah, it's my birthday month, which is exciting. But yeah, it's June. June went by so quickly. We were in Sioux Falls for most of the month, but ended up just having a lot more to do than I expected, and that's okay. Had a lot of really fun shoots. A lot of fun growth in the creative area, and I'm very thankful for it all. But yeah, I definitely do just want to kind of hop back into documenting things and sharing it, and so I created a little notes list to talk about my mood board for the month of July. And these are just things that are inspiring me, things that I'm mulling over, things that I want to kind of give input into my life this month, all of that kind of stuff. And the first thing is a book called The Creative Act. The Creative Act is a book by Rick Rubin, and it almost feels like a devotional. It's super short chapters, like literally this chapter is 2 pages, and then it always ends with this little outtake at the end. What I'll say about this book is that I'm only, first of all, like 50 pages in. It's fairly abstract. I'm somebody that loves a practical book. This is very abstract. There's not a lot of solidity to it. It just feels somewhere out there, but I'm liking that in the sense that it makes me kind of meet it somewhere in the middle. And so this is the first thing that I'm taking with me into July, and my hope is just to be inspired, to be challenged, to be considering new things, to be curious. I can't say necessarily that I fully recommend this book yet. I've heard good things from other people, but I will report back once I have finished reading it myself. But this is the first thing on my July mood board. The second thing is a few brands that I have been loving, and those brands are St. AGNI, which is an Australian brand, and TEKLA, which, let me check, I'm not sure where they're from. TEKLA is based in Copenhagen, I believe. But these are 2 brands that have been inspiring me. I'm going to try to screen record my laptop so that you can see a little bit more about what I mean when I'm saying that they're inspiring me. Alright, so the first brand is St. AGNI, which is a Australian brand that I've loved for a really long time. Very clean, very beautiful, very intentional, high quality, and currently they have come out with some pieces that are especially inspiring for me because of the cutouts. And so I've been super inspired by like this kind of shape here. You can see it on the side, like right here. I'm just like loving the look of cutouts and interesting shapes. And so, I mean, you can't see it so much there as you can there. I love that interesting shape there. The shoulder just being out, it almost feeling like it's half a shirt in the back. I love that. I also am seeing it in this tank top. Now, I don't know if these are the most timeless pieces or if these are things that I would particularly invest in for my own wardrobe, but I am just like drawn to the shapes, and I'm super drawn to, yeah, the negative space and the way they've used that. And so in this tank top, you can see that little cutout on the side, which I am just like, I find that so interesting. Super captivated by that. See if we can show the whole thing. So even that's interesting that on one side it's filled in and on the other there's like the asymmetry, I think is what it is. That's really, really fascinating to me. So feeling super inspired by that asymmetry, the use of space, the lack of space, the lack of fabric. Love that. Then the other brand that I am feeling incredibly inspired by at the moment is TEKLA. And TEKLA is a brand that I have like probably 3 sets from already. But particularly what I'm feeling inspired by is their striped sets. So TEKLA is the brand that's based out of Copenhagen, and they do like sleepwear and some homeware. Their sleepwear is so incredible. It is like, I wasn't planning on showing these, but I will. These were like sitting on top of my dirty laundry, so excuse how wrinkled they are, but these are like a pair of the shorts that I have from them. They're just these poplin cotton. They have like a super slouchy drawstring, and then they're almost like a boxer, so they have like that opening there, and then they have a pocket in the back. Incredible, super comfortable. I'm loving these like striped pieces. My laptop is so slow. But these striped pieces have been like on my mind, and I do have one striped set from them. I probably don't need more right now, but I think just like the crispness of their fabric and the simplicity of the design has been, I'm just very drawn to it at the moment. The stripes particularly have like inspired a lot of shoot ideas for me. They've inspired just a lot of story ideas for me, a lot of set ideas for me. Like I think of the stripes and I think all the places that I would want to set up a photo shoot around them. So I'm loving the stripes at the moment, loving TEKLA at the moment. I need to find my list. The third thing that I'm feeling super inspired by right now is vintage, particularly by like 30s dresses. There's some really beautiful ruffled and sheer dresses from the 30s that I'm really loving, as well as vintage cars. If you follow my photography page, I've gotten to shoot with a couple of vintage cars. One was a 65 Volkswagen Notch in baby blue, which was absolutely incredible, and then the other was a butter yellow 76 Mercury Cougar, which was also incredible. And the way I found those was just by like finding cars for sale on Facebook Marketplace and asking the owners if I could just like rent them out for a shoot. It's been super fun just getting to like see the interiors, exteriors, the different shapes, the colors, just like vintage and how design has changed forms throughout history and even still is today has been incredibly inspiring. And with that, I've been super inspired by just shooting film, which I know is like a big thing in general. These are my 2 film cameras that I use, and I love them. This is the Canon AE1 program, so this is something that for the month of July I'm really wanting to use a little bit more. And then I'm also really feeling inspired by Super 8 within like kind of the vintage feel, and this is my Super 8 camera. This is a Nikon Super Zoom 8. I think I got this for a couple $100 on Etsy. This is a really great starter Super 8 if you're ever looking for one. But just kind of the grain and the imperfection of film is something that I am really drawn to at the moment. The next thing is Wes Anderson. Wes Anderson just came out with a film recently called Asteroid City. There's some really familiar faces in there. And I know based on like critics' reviews that it's been kind of a mixed reaction to it. I personally love it though. I think Wes Anderson is brilliant, not necessarily for his story, although I'm sure there's some people that really appreciate his story, but for his but rather for his like design and his eye for beautiful things. And I am just like really honing in on that energy of intentionality and design. So Joe and I went to Asteroid City probably a couple days ago now, earlier this week, and then yesterday we watched Fantastic Mr. Fox, and I think tonight we're gonna watch Isle of Dogs. But I'm just feeling like I think I really want to watch a lot of Wes Anderson films, but I really also want to incorporate that intentionality. Yeah. Fifth thing that is inspiring me for the month of July is kind of an abstract thought, but it's the ebb and flow of chaos and order. One of the reasons I haven't been vlogging is just because this last month has been so brimful with other stuff that like the stillness hasn't really existed. And I'm really looking for that stillness this month. But I want it to be balanced out by the chaos. And so what I mean by that is I do want those chaotic moments, those moments, those big spurts of energy, those moments of crazy ideas and making it happen, but I need them to be balanced out by a little bit more calm and reflection and intentionality and planning, and I've been missing that part of it. So that's something that I'm really working towards in the month of July, that I'm really like wanting to create and celebrate, is that ebb and flow. And finding a way to appreciate both, finding a way for them to work together. The sixth thing that I'm manifesting a little bit of in July is cheese boards on Saturday mornings. So for the last month, every Saturday, Joe and I, and usually his sister Lily as well, have gone to the farmer's market, and we've gotten a fresh loaf of baguette from Bread & Co, and then right next to the Bread & Co stand is a cheese, like it's like a dairy stand, and so we get some fresh mozzarella, then we hit the grocery and we grab a couple other cheeses and meats, and we just sit in the backyard and have a slow Saturday morning and have a cheese board. And so that for me just represents this like communal intentionality, this like ritual, and I just want more of that in the month of July. Another thing that has been inspiring me is silk and sheer fabric, and I have a couple of pieces to show this. Grab them. So like I said, silk and sheer fabric have been super inspiring to me, and of course in clothes, but also just like in life in general. This is a piece from AGNI, and I'm not sure how well it'll show up on camera, but it is like entirely sheer, and I just find that really interesting. This piece is also beautiful because it has these massive cuffs and this massive collar, but I just find it so interesting. It's such a unique take on a classic piece. I think it's timeless. I think it's beautiful. The sheer fabric makes it really easy to wear in the summertime. And then the other piece that I have is like this silk piece, and I also have a couple pairs of silk pants that I've invested in this last month, and those are super beautiful, but this piece I want to show you specifically because the blue is so beautiful. But again, like, this is a fabric that will kind of speak for itself. It's simple, you don't need to add much to it. I just love the way it falls. I love the way it like drapes. I think it's so comfortable and just like incredibly beautiful. So yes, silk and sheer fabric have been on my mind, and I think I just want to, whether that be in my clothing or just like in other areas of my life, I really want to see more of that fabric to play with. I'm even imagining shoots where like with tulle or with silk draping. I just think there's so much that you can do with sheer and silk fabrics. The eighth thing that is inspiring me this month is APEROL SPRITZ. APEROL SPRITZ for me are a drink that I will just sip on in the afternoon. They kind of represent that like European way of doing life, that slowed down afternoon sun moment where you put everything else on pause and you just sit and sip your drink and have a good time and don't really worry. And I don't necessarily need to drink a ton of APEROL Spritzes this next month, but I do want my APEROL Spritz moment here and there. The ninth thing that I am kind of letting into my July is journaling. I have been journaling pretty much my whole life. And I have stages where I'm incredibly good at it. Like if you look at, try to find you guys a good page to look at, but don't zoom in and read my little private thoughts. Although I'm sure there's nothing too crazy in here. Should have had this opened already. But journaling for me is a safe place to really process, and it helps me to not just go through my day, but to really experience it. And that's something that kind of I tend to let go of when the rest of life gets a little bit busy, and I just want it to be a discipline that I kind of come back to and am incorporating a little bit more intentionally in my July month. I'm being picky about what I show you because I want it to look good. But like here, this is like my journal pages. Yeah, and I just want more pages like that. I think just the look of them really satisfies me, but also it's the sitting down and putting a pause and making it happen that I really, really love. And then the 10th thing that's kind of on my mood board for the month of July is stillness, which I've kind of touched on. It feels like a little bit silly to repeat it, but I feel like life has been moving a million miles a minute. And again, it's been all good things, but I really do value those moments of pause. I think they're necessary to recognize the good things around you. I think they're necessary for well-being, and there's something that I have really kind of thrown to the side over the last month, which is okay. There's a time and a place, but I really feel that invitation towards stillness coming up again. And I think stillness looks like a few things. I think it looks like all of those different things I mentioned of like journaling, the ebb and flow of chaos and order, I don't know, I think I said intentionality so many times. That's stillness to me, but stillness is also those very practical moments of like yoga, of meditation, of I don't know what else, but that is definitely something that is going to be incorporated into my July. And so yeah, I feel like I just rambled, and I don't know if I was talking fast or not, but I did just want to, I don't know, I just felt like those were the things that were on my mind, and I wanted to share them, both for like other people to be inspired by, but also because I think it's really fun to look back month to month and be like, wow, I was inspired by A, B, and C in June, and then D, E, F in July, and then all of a sudden in August it's a completely different thing. I think my inspiration is constantly changing, and I think again the intentionality towards it becomes so much stronger when you take those moments of pause to name the things that you're inspired by and that you're looking forward to. And so yeah, for the month of July, those are the things that I'm kind of like naming as my mood board, the things that I'm kind of looking for, moving towards, incorporating intentionally, and that kind of stuff. Of course, there's a million other things that I'm inspired by and curious about and looking forward to, but those are kind of the big things that come to mind. And I love that they're not all necessarily like classic examples, that inspiration can be in action, or it can be a director, or it can be a piece of clothing. I love seeing all those things pour into my life. And I'm happy to be able to share them with you guys, and hopefully from here on out vlogs will be back weekly. That's really my goal. We'll see what happens. There's some parts of my life I just can't really document because they're precious for other people. Like I'm thinking about the shoots that I do and stuff. Those are other people's moments, and bringing a vlog camera to those isn't necessarily appropriate, but and that's kind of been what's taking up most of my time, has been my shoots. But I'm hoping that calms down a little bit this month, and we'll see what I can share. As always, thank you for being here. Thank you for joining for these little thought bubble moments, and for being kind of a little community around my creative endeavors. I feel super thankful for that, and yeah, I'm excited to see what this month holds. I'm also curious, like, I mean, it always feels funny like asking these things at the end of a video, but I ask it because I genuinely like would love for people to reach out if they have any thoughts. I would love to know what's inspiring other people. Like if there's similar things, if there's something completely different, feel free to just like reach out and share. I love having conversations around those things. I love engaging in creative ideas and thoughts with other people, and I feel like that doesn't happen often enough in the world. So please let me know if you're inspired by anything. I'd love to hear. And I will see you next week.